Alexis Spirit, also known as Lex Spirit to many of you, and I'm a 2020 alumna of Bradford, graduating with my degrees in psychology and sociology, and minoring in women and gender studies. During my time here at Bradford, I was so blessed to hold various leadership positions, including Vice President of the National Panhellenic Council and a Student Director for New Student and Family Programs. To be here today as a speaker is not only an honor, but a privilege. This movement is history in the making, and I cannot be happier to be a part of it. When I came here as a first-year student in 2016, our Black student population was beginning to make an impact on this campus. The National Panhellenic Council, the Greek council that presides over the 9 historically Black fraternities and sororities, had just planted its roots in 2013. The Diversity Awareness Programming starting to put itself on the social activities map, and the Black student population had grown 11% since 2005. Today, we have managed to gather so many people to march yet again for not only equality and equity, but to continue to emphasize the importance and value of our presence here as Black individuals. When I confirmed with Devante that I would be more than elated to speak, I happily shared the news with everybody around. All were thrilled, but if you ask me with the same question, what was the purpose of the march? After a brief explanation, it was understood by most, but the little who weren't satisfied with my answer dug deeper, asking me what was the point of marching for racial equality and visibility, both at Bradford and in the United States, when it wasn't going to change anytime soon. Why were we attempting to break down the systems that were built to perpetuate our demise when these systems have shown nothing but great power and hegemony? These questions disturbed me. They frightened me. As I prepared, these questions continued to spiral in my head like a cyclical pattern. How can people not want change? How can people see the brutalities, the murders, the injustices, and not want to work towards fixing the system that greenlights and allows these things to take place? So today, I'm here to answer the question that we have all been asked so many times before this event here today. What's the point? Growing up, I was promptly educated on what it meant to be Black in America, what it meant to be white in America, and what it meant for me to be biracial. My dad would give me picture books about Martin Luther King Jr., Ruby Bridges, and Rosa Parks, telling the stories of some of the most groundbreaking and influential individuals within the African American community. Their stories became my bedtime stories. I would dream about marching alongside Dr. King, sitting on the bus with Rosa, and going to school with Ruby, a pretty active mind for a preschooler, right? Along with their stories were my dad's own stories of discrimination and injustices he faced while he was growing up. But like all naive 5-year-olds, it was hard for me to see these stories as more than that, just stories. It wasn't until I was on the playground playing in preschool that these stories became live action. One day, I approached a group of white girls playing on the playground. I was confronted by who I now understand to be the group leader, and she told me I couldn't play with her and her friends. I didn't understand. When I asked why she wouldn't let me play with them, she responded with an aggressive tone and said, "You will never be able to play with the straight-haired girls when you have puffy hair like yours." I was devastated. I was hurt. I was angry. My beautiful curly hair would be the reason why some kids say I couldn't play with them. Now, as silly as this may sound, this key moment played a critical role in how I understood how the world saw me. It didn't matter that I was biracial, brown, or Black. I just wasn't white. These live-action reality checks would only intensify once I came to Bradford. Once becoming involved on campus, I was exposed to a whole new set of scenes that would only continue to anger and frustrate me. I would watch Black student organizations feed off of the leftover crumbs of funding, witness student leaders sacrificing their all to serve a campus who was not willing to serve them, and personally being wrongfully fired from one of the highest student leader positions on this campus for having an intimidating tone, and watch nobody be held accountable for. All of these scenes of live action propelled me into the work of change. I couldn't just sit by and continue to ask what change needed to occur When myself and my student peers were experiencing the same degree of injustices as Black individuals were on the outside world. Radford wasn't a safe utopia for Black students, and rather than continuing this fake facade of the utopia, I joined the fight to change it. I tell this story and other scenes to many of the people who ask me about why I got into sociology, and these stories are the reason why I am fighting this fight here with you all here today. These stories represent a very, very simplified version of how the Black community in our society is constantly left out. These stories represent a story like many of you out there who have been denied authority, job, professional advancement, or even human decency just because you're a part of the Black community. These stories represent why there is work that needs to be done for change to happen. This is the point. My story as a biracial woman in America shares similar scenes to all Black women in America. My story, these pains, these crimes against the Black community, they are the live action. Like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, I believe that change can begin with one individual, one action. But in order to have effective change, we need numbers, bodies, believers. We need individuals who genuinely want to help towards change, who want to see the Black community not only have a seat at the table, but to have an equal speaking part. As I look around today, I see many, many individuals who are willing and committed to getting our community that speaking part and a seat at that table. It makes me ecstatic to look around and see the people who are willing to be the Dr. Kings, Miss Parks, and Ruby Bridges. This momentum we have here today cannot stop. It cannot be put on pause until we get next year's march. This momentum has to keep us going. We need to be using our voices not only to impact the outside world, but I invite you all to use your voices here today as students and as allies. During my time here at Radford, I was able to forge opportunities to speak on topics that were important to me and my community, like mental health, domestic violence, and our rights as Black citizens in this country. Now, I am back at Radford to motivate and encourage you all to discover your own way to creating solutions and supporting topics that are important to Radford's Black community. Before I go, I ask you all to pledge to both befriend and play with the puffy-haired Black girl on the playground, and to remove barriers so that she can be successful in today's community. Because without her, our strength for change will remain unbreakable.